Hi, and welcome to the Crypto Divas with me, Gillian Gotzel, and my co-host, Morgan Pierce. It is March 25th, and we are doing Good Week, Bad Week again. So let's start off. Let me kick off the proceedings. I'm going to do a good thing. This is in Ireland, the Minister for the Department of Finance, Pascal Donoghue. He just published a paper this week on virtual currencies and blockchain. He mentioned Mingo. I'm a PRO, and that's kind of cool. But what's really interesting is that he sees opportunities for Ireland with blockchain. He's a very, very positive report explaining what it is, but he sees the opportunities. And Ireland has like a track record on this, as the world may know. We attracted, with foreign direct investment, we attracted like 9 out of the 10 top tech companies with headquarters here in Ireland. And plus also in the IFSC, the International Finance Services Centre, we've got 50% of the world's banks in Ireland. So for a small little country, we're punching well above our weight. So that's very exciting. Welcome blockchain. And at the same time, it's interesting as well. This is a bit of a rush here at the moment. Last week we said that France was a bit anti-cryptocurrencies, but at the G20 Summit, we have the French minister, the finance minister, Bruno Le Marie. He came out and he said he wants to welcome cryptocurrency countries to France as well. And they want to provide a framework for them to work in. So this will be a bit of a race, I think, who can get there first.
Awesome. Yeah. Good news on France. I did see that. My first piece of good news is that China, we talked about Yi Gang, the new president of the Bank of China that came in last week. He is incredibly pro-Bitcoin. He actually stated that Bitcoin provides freedom.
Wow.
And, similar to that kind of thinking, he made a move this week, which is really incredible. He opened the doors to China's $27 trillion payments markets. So now China, that door has been shut forever. And so they have basically Alibaba has 70% of the marketplace, and another Chinese company called Tencent has 30% of the payments marketplace in China. But this opens it up for companies like Square to be able to come in and gain some market share. Now it's going to be tough. The competition is very, very tough in China, but where there could be an advantage is cross-border payments, because the Alibabas and the Tencents, haven't been active so much in that market where Square, has been. So there's a significant positive move in terms of opening up China for the markets, which is great.
That is super news, because China is so powerful, of course. We used to say when America sneezes, the rest of the world sort of catches cold. But I think it's China now is that powerhouse. So what they do is very important. Okay, my piece of good news is the Verge coin, the privacy coin. Now, I actually met some of the guys in Kiev in January this time, and they're a very interesting group of people. Now, they've had huge problems. They've had a roller coaster ride of people leaving, people coming back, and the Telegram channel is always gone crazy. But it's difficult because it's, unlike other coins, there was no ICO, there was no pre-mining, it's not a company, it's all done by volunteers. And of course, trying to run a company that the market cap is like over 600 million. Trying to run that without a CEO and paid employees is very difficult. So I think they've realized this, and they started doing marketing stuff. And they've also opened a crowdfunding donation effort with Justin, the main developer. They want to raise 50 million of the Verge coin, the XVG, and they're doing it's pure crowdfunding. There'll be like rewards and lotteries, people put in the money. And so far they've raised 18 million XVG, which is huge. They're also saying at the end of the quarter, which is a few days away, that they will announce they have a new partner coming on board. They're talking about this global payments system company coming on board. And this, of course, is the holy grail of any cryptocurrency, to have mass adoption. So I'm pleased because they're nice guys. They didn't make any money from it originally, and it's a very active community, and some that's good and bad in parts. It's not always good to have quite so many fingers on the pie. But this will be very fun, so they can actually maybe appoint some full-time people. That's good. And I like Verge. They're quirky. They're very quirky. I like them.
Yeah, and I have Verge in my portfolio. Have actually for a couple of months now. So
yeah.
Another piece of good news. So the Saga Foundation, this is really interesting, have launched have launched plans to create a new stable coin, which is going to be pegged to the IMF's special drawing rights, which is an international reserve asset that was established in 1969. And so basically a stable coin is something that's attached to something that is like US dollar tether. So it's attached to something in the real world, if you will, to make it stable and to be less subject to the volatility of the currency markets. But what's really interesting about the Saga Foundation are the people that are backing it. So I'm just going to read from my notes because I want to make sure I get everybody's names and titles correctly. JP Morgan Chase Chairman Jacob Frankel is in this one. Nobel Laureate Economics Myron Scholes, the CME, so Chicago Mercantile Exchange Chairman Emeritus Leo Melamed, and then a team of people from Cornell University. So I think this is going to be a very interesting move. It's going to be able to allow us another currency other than US dollar tether to be able to call, something that's more stably attached to the outside world. So very positive news.
It all points to the maturity of the marketplace, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
My next story is not mature at all, but there are elements of maturity. It's actually the crypto kitties. Do you remember them back in December when they brought the Ethereum blockchain to a halt? They clogged it all up, the fees went through the roof, and everybody was playing this game. And it's basically crypto kitties. They're digital assets. They're collectibles. Because on the blockchain it means you cannot duplicate them. And at one stage they were going for like 100,000. You could breed them too as well, with strange, and trade them. And anyway, so they were very much in the news back in December. Everybody hated them. All serious business people hated them because A, what they did, and B, crypto kitties. But now this is really weird, right? They have gone and raised 12 million in venture capital funding. And so it's a Series A funding with Horowitz and Union Square Ventures. So that's weird, but interesting that you have a very famous crypto kitties collectible. That is still the third most popular distributed app on Ethereum, and they're being funded through traditional venture capital. So it's good news. Again, it's the cross and forth, but it's kind of weird at the same time.
Well, and it's a real endorsement because Andreessen Horowitz and Union Square Ventures are, absolutely the cream of the crop for VC capital out of Silicon Valley. So I guess we're going to start to see a lot more venture capital move into the cryptocurrency space, which can only, be really positive news. Okay. Good news on my side, and then hopefully we got some bad news.
I have some bad news.
Okay, so we had the G20 meeting in Buenos Aires, and we knew that cryptocurrency was going to be a big item on the agenda. Two things came out of that, other than, of course, the announcement that you made about France. But one is that the G20 have agreed that they need to have some cryptocurrency regulatory guidelines in place, or being recommended, if you will, to the G20 by July of 2018. So that puts regulation around the cryptocurrency industry sort of on the agenda for sure across the G20. And then the second thing that came out of it is OECD Director of the Directorate for Finance and Enterprise Affairs, Greg Medcraft, stated at the G20, blockchain will propel the next revolution, which is very positive. Wow. And he is encouraging an international discussion on cryptocurrency to reduce risk and establish clear regulatory guidelines. So I think all in all, very positive on a regulatory front. Everybody seems to be moving towards acceptance of cryptocurrency rather than shutting down cryptocurrency, which I think everybody at this point realizes is probably not possible.
Yeah.
So that's the end of my good news. How about you?
I'm going to jump into, I've got, my bad news is, right, and this story is so typical of kind of like the old-fashioned crypto days, if you like. It's Petra. It's the Venezuelan coin that was launched by Nicolas Maduro. And, oh my God, it gets worse and worse. And first of all, when he launched the coin, he actually said it was to get around the financial sanctions that have been imposed in this country, because, as you're aware, both the US and the EU have imposed financial sanctions based on the corruption and the abuse of the human rights abuses in this country. So he said to get around this problem, he's going to launch his own coin. But he kept on changing technologies mid-race, and then the white paper was put down and put up. And then when they actually launched it, first of all he said that they raised $5 billion already, although there seems to be no sight nor sign of it. And then what happened was Trump this week said he has forbidden all U.S. citizens to buy Petra. And actually, that might be a good thing. Actually, Trump might be doing the world a good favor because the petro coin is so marred in controversy. And of course, Trump is doing it. Well, I don't know if he likes cryptocurrencies or not particularly, but the Russians are believed to be behind and there are definitely Russian service providers behind this coin. So it's kind of a real mess. And I've read other reports, and financial crypto journals are suggesting that the petro is not a good investment. So although it's bad news to have all this mess, maybe it's good news because Trump is able not to invest in a coin, which is maybe bad news. That's very convoluted. So what other bad news might you have then, Morgan?
So I have Bittrex, which is one of the largest exchanges that's based actually in the United States, is going to remove 82 tokens on the 30th of March. They're going to delist 82 different tokens. And so people that have these tokens, you can go find the list on their website. You need to either move them off to a wallet or you need to diversify out of them. And the reason is because they either have low liquidity, they don't meet the, sort of guidelines, if you will, that the SEC has imposed for exchanges doing business in the United States, but also they don't have fully operational blockchains behind them. So they're not either, proper businesses per se, or they're just so small that they can't really handle them. So for investors in the Bittrex who are using Bittrex as an exchange, it's important for you to make sure that you get your portfolios cleaned up or those coins moved off into a wallet before the 30th, or else your assets will be completely wiped.
Yes, it's bad news for people holding those coins. But probably good news again is the tidy up, because we recognize there's so many coins on exchanges, and a lot of them are not so good coins. There's a colloquialism I won't use, that they're bleep coins, but so it's bad news for the coin holders, but maybe good news overall for the industry.
I think so, yeah.
So in the same light, my piece of bad news is that we mentioned that Twitter was going to ban. It's confirmed now. So we have Google, Facebook, and Twitter all banning ICOs and mentions of ICOs, and there's lots of sort of roundabout people trying to get around it. They're doing like one CO and stuff like that, sort of crazy stuff. But it probably will slow the growth, because certainly Facebook has been important, and Twitter important for ICO, and Google too, so obviously for ICO companies. And on the other hand, I don't know, those three, they're kind of new media, but they're also sort of traditional media. And there's a bit of a backlash, I think, against them generally. You have the leave Facebook after all the scandal with the Trump campaign and the Cambridge Analytica. So I don't know. I think they're hurting themselves more than anything else. So I don't know. It's a bad thing that people cannot advertise on it, and it's probably even worse for the Google, Facebook, and Twitter themselves, actually.
I think. I can't see themselves they're not making friends with the cryptocurrency community for sure. And we all know that the cryptocurrency community is growing, by leaps and bounds every day. So, banning advertising in this marketplace, particularly as regulation is starting to come in, is kind of silly. It's just sort of, it's obvious, I think, that they're nervous about the cryptocurrency industry and the pace at which it's moving. I suggest is really.
I don't think they saw it coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely not. Zuckerberg even said so himself at the beginning of 2018. He was going to spend 2018, looking at what this thing called blockchain is. It's a little late for that. Anyway, okay. Second piece of bad news for me, CoinCheck, which is the Japanese exchange that was had the NEM hack earlier in this year. They are moving away from Monero, Dash, and Zcash. So they're not going to handle them any longer. And the reason that they've given is the high risk posed by these coins when used in money laundering. So I think there will be some pressure coming down on coins that are highly anonymous, because it's not in keeping with the drug trafficking, money laundering, the dark web nature of cryptocurrency. And although obviously people want privacy coins, I can see them not being as favored, if you will, by the population, or by sort of the ethos of the whole cryptocurrency world is open. It's open source. We all share. Abundance gets spread, and these currencies are a little bit different. So it'd be very interesting to see how they progress in terms of their growth as CoinCheck starts the delisting. I'm sure a few others might follow suit. but we'll see.
Yeah, no, very interesting times, all right. And then tell me, how has the market been this week? Because last time it was horrible. We were crying into our cornflakes.
So actually, this is a piece of good news, and I think we can probably round the week up and say it has been a good week in crypto. I'm sure listeners will know about the trade wars that are happening between the U.S. and now China. So the U.S. Put some significant trade restrictions on China at the end of last week, which sent the Dow plummeting 400 points on Friday before the market closed for the week. And China retaliated, putting a 25% import tax, if you will, on pork and red wine and 25 other American products. So from a traditional markets perspective, it was a very bad week. I think they had their worst week since January of 2016 this week. And but here's the really good news. From a cryptocurrency perspective, the cryptocurrency market on average went up 10% across the board.
Wow.
So this is significant because, you know, the markets traditionally up until now have been very correlated. So if the Dow went down, the S&P went down, the NASDAQ went down, so did crypto. But actually what happened this week is that all of the markets went down. The traditional financial markets were hurt by the economic news, and the cryptocurrency market improved by 10%. And most of the analysts that are out there, I did my roundup this morning and made sure that the news was still very favorable, are expecting a very positive week in the week to come. So a bit more bullish on the cryptocurrency front as we wrap up our Good Week, Bad Week for March the 25th, 2018.